This is the Final Whistle podcast. Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of the Final Whistle podcast. Today you are joined by myself, Frankie Levin, and a guest we haven't had on a Skype session before, Tom Kelly. How you doing, mate?
I'm very excited to make my debut and I want to give some questionable footballing opinions, so let's go.
Brilliant stuff. It's just us two today because the others just, well, what can you say? Deadline day. You know, they're often they're trying to negotiate other fees, but
yeah, the agents were just too hard to talk to. We just couldn't secure a deal. That was the problem. They'll come crawling back though when we're up there for the end of the season.
100%, mate, 100%. Today we're going to be talking about the North London derby, how Pochettino's getting on at Spurs. We're going to be talking about the Romelu Lukaku stuff that happened yesterday with the racist chants. Rio Ferdinand came out and said that Van Dijk didn't deserve to win UEFA Player of the Year. We're going to be debating a little bit about that, and then I'm going to be asking Tom a few questions about his club, Leyton Orient. Right, so Tom, 2-2 in the North London derby. Spurs took the lead quite early on. What did you make of the sort of first 20-25 minutes of the game?
Well, I'll tell you what, Sky Sports billed it as Super Sunday, and I think that's definitely what we got. Like it was a good game. Like I was watching it with a friend, and I just couldn't get over how end to end it was. But if I'm being honest, Spurs started the game very well. They started on the front foot, but if I'm being honest, I think if you told a Spurs fan at the 70th minute that, oh, you're going to get a draw out of this, I think they would have bit my hand off. Like, I'm not too sure whether it was a performance that Pochettino or the fans probably would have wanted. I think they probably expected a little bit more.
Yeah, well, they took the lead quite early on, didn't they? After 10 minutes or so, Eriksen put them one up, and there was a lot of questionable defending in the build-up to that goal, to say the least. I think we had Socrates just running out for one of the headers, and that left a gap. David Luiz got spun, and then Leno parried it straight to Eriksen. Do you think that's going to be the sort of reoccurring theme for Arsenal this season? A lot of attacking, but defensively there's still question marks.
I mean, attacking with Arsenal, with Arsenal, Pepe, his footwork yesterday was just, I couldn't get over it. He was in tight spaces and he can just turn on the back foot, and he's such an impressive player, but defensively, you've got to ask questions because, I mean, when they got the David Luiz deal over the line this summer, and especially for how much money it was, I thought it was a very good deal on their behalf. But watching him yesterday, I get the going forward, that's what he offers. He can ping a ball 60 yards or something like that because that's what he's got in his locker. But he needs to be able to defend as well, and I'm just not sure whether he can do it to that level anymore. And especially with the first goal, the strike. I mean, I think Leno could have kept it at him, but he tried to parry it away. But I just don't think the strike had enough venom on it that he couldn't parry it away. I think that's what he tried to do, but obviously it just fell short and fell to Eriksen.
Well, you look at all the top teams, and if you want to be challenging up there at the top of the Premier League, you have to have a solid defence. Look at Man City's defensive record. Look at Liverpool's defensive record.
Yeah.
With Arsenal, they don't have that solid defence, and that's what you need to mount a top 3, top 2 challenge. Do you think their ambitions, obviously, this season will be to finish in the top 4? Do you think with a defence like that, it's going to be possible? Do you think it's just a case of we'll try and score more than you every game?
Yeah. I mean, that's a tricky way to do it, though. But to be honest, and I don't know whether you saw it or anyone listening has heard, seen this video, it's of Jamie O'Hara talking about Arsenal and what is their expectations nowadays. Yeah. And I feel like some sort of Arsenal fans do live in the past, and I agree with what Jamie has been saying, because nowadays they're not pushing for top 4. That they're going to be playing Europa League football for a while, I think. But there's just, again, they need that defence to propel them into the Champions League, and they haven't got it at the moment.
Well, again, they did look shaky throughout a lot of the first half, and then again, that man, Granit Xhaka, just goes flying in with 5 minutes to go and gives away a penalty, and Harry Kane slots it away. Let's talk about Xhaka for a second, because I thought he played okay, but he's just a walking booking.
Yeah,
that is who he is. You can't rely on him to just play the safe option. That has cost him basically 3 points. That challenge in the box. But
yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, in that sort of situation as well. It wasn't a situation where there was on the counter. Arsenal had quite a lot of men in the box. When it's in that sort of situation, you do not go to ground. Like
No.
you have to stand your man up. And what he was thinking was, I can't even get what his logic was. And I guess it's because it's North London derby and things do get heated, and especially with him, like yellow card is probably synonymous with his name. But I just don't think you need that sort of player in your team. You need that sort of surety. And to be perfectly honest, and I was saying this to one of my friends, that I don't know what was going on there, but why Dani Ceballos didn't start is beyond me. Because the minute he came on, he was probably one of the most creative players in the central midfield for Arsenal, if that's what you think.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think he should have started probably in Xhaka's place. I thought Guendouzi had a very good game, probably one of their standout performers.
Do you know what? With Guendouzi, and the one thing that I do like about him, as a footballer, he's good, but he is the biggest wind-up I've seen in an Arsenal shirt since like Patrick Vieira. You know, he just gets in your ear. He does like the questionable things, and like he puts you off your game. And to be fair, I mean, how old is Guendouzi? He can't be older
He's
than
about
25.
19 or 20, yeah.
I mean, I think he's got a very bright future at Arsenal, but he could be the man that, like, because he's not like the typically hard footballer like the Vinnie Jones or things like that, but like he's got that bullish sort of nature about him that I like to see from a sort of player, especially at Arsenal with the attractive football they play. They've got someone who's willing to do the dirty work for them.
Well, Spurs thought they were going to go in 2-0 up at half time, but just on the stroke of it, Lacazette scored a very good goal. Yesterday, we had Aubameyang on the left, Pepe on the right, Lacazette as the main striker. Do you think that's how you can see them setting up as that front three for a lot of games this season, or is he really going to do that? Because Aubameyang didn't look as comfortable out on the left as he does playing central.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, I think the difference is Lacazette and Aubameyang as a pairing, they're very good. Don't get me wrong; they scored a lot of goals as a pair last season, but they are both out and out strikers, and it's very clear that Emery wants a man in them through the middle and then two people either side. That's clearly the way he wants to play, and especially with acquiring Pepe, that's like certainly reassured that.
Yeah.
But I think putting either Lacazette or Aubameyang out on the wing is just it's a waste of their talent, to be honest, because they are the players that, for example, I think Aubameyang's second goal, like that's because when I first saw it, I thought it was offside because I was thinking, how did he get into that position? And obviously, it was just that little touch that got it past the keeper. But it was just that natural goal-scoring poacher instinct that basically leveled the scores for Arsenal. But it's a shame because I think they're probably two of Arsenal's best players, in my opinion, and I really do like them. But Emery does need to find a system which allows them both to play together and not to isolate one playing on the wing.
That's quite a difficult job to do, though, isn't it? Because, as you said, they both like playing centrally. But I saw an interesting thing Jose Mourinho said after the game. He said, if you put Aubameyang in Liverpool's front three, he would score just as many goals because Firmino plays so deep and he drops deep. He creates so much space in behind for Salah and Mane to run into, and it creates a lot of space for them to score goals. So do you think it's a case of Lacazette will have to sort of change his game a little bit to benefit Aubameyang playing left wing?
The problem is, though, and I was saying, I think it's a lot harder said than done to change your game, and especially Lacazette. He's not like some spruce chicken anymore. He's getting on a bit now, and it's going to be difficult for him to change his game. But if I'm being honest, I'm not exactly like set on Emery as a manager anyway. Like,
really?
I'm not. If I'm being honest, like, I mean, tactically, that's probably what he's probably known for. Because to be honest, I don't think he can motivate me to make a sandwich. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's just. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like I respect the fact that he's come to England. He's learned English. He wants to adapt to the Arsenal way of play and just English football as a whole. But I just don't think it's working. If it depends what they want. If they want a manager that's going to make them finish 5th, 6th each season, stick with Emery. But if you want someone to progress you as a club and get you back to it, because Arsenal, stature-wise, are a top 4 club, but they're not acting like it at the moment. That's the issue.
Yeah, you spoke about Aubameyang's goal. So 2-2, that's how it finished. There was a lot of, towards the end, there was certainly a lot of heated discussions between the players, a bit kicking off a bit, yellow cards coming out left, right and centre. It's definitely up there with in terms of derbies in English football, would you say North London derby's up there?
Yeah, I have to say, because to be fair, nowadays, like if you look at some of the derbies, like as in like I think the leading derbies in this country. So, for example, Man United, Man City, as much as it's postcode wise, like it's a derby. When they play each other, like yeah, there's a bit of a scrap here and there. Whereas like in the North London derby, you can see there's players playing for the shirt, which I
Yeah.
love, and I love that about football. But the thing is like I think I wouldn't be surprised how like 10 years ago, Arsenal United was a serious derby because they were competing at that end of the table, and it wouldn't surprise me if City and Liverpool end up in the same sort of like similar vein.
Yeah.
But in comparison to the North London derby, in regards to like the passion, the flying tackles, and how much it actually means to both fans as well, I don't think it can be topped.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned you don't think Arsenal are a top four club, and you don't think they're. Do you think they're finishing the top four this season?
No.
No.
I mean, the top four is an interesting conversation, to be honest. I mean, we're so lucky in the sense that we have so many teams now that could push into it. And that's what makes the Premier League so exciting. Like, for obvious reasons, Liverpool and City are going to finish in the top four.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure about the other. I think Spurs will definitely be in there. Like, I think,
You think after that performance?
I don't, because I think it's the last 30 odd games they've lost like 15 or something like that. So
They've had a really poor run.
I think though that's just a sense of a poor run. I don't think people should read.
Is 30 games a poor run though? That's almost a season, Tom.
I know, but it's just something about Pochettino and like because every manager goes through like rough periods, and exactly I think trying to think about it, Sir Alex Ferguson I think it was a season where I think it's like 2008, 2009 where Ronaldo was injured the start of the season, and United were down the bottom end of the table for a good 6, 7, 8 games, but they end up going on to win the title that year.
Yeah.
So yes, it's 30 games, and I think maybe the introduction of certain players, so like Lo Celso and people who have come in, I think it could make a change of fortune for Tottenham. But I do think they still get into the top four. I'm convinced of that. But Arsenal, the problem is with Arsenal, and I was saying to someone else earlier, in my opinion, I think, for example, for Tottenham, when they played Tottenham, they did turn up towards the end of the game, and against the big teams, I think they do quite well. But it's like the silly things of they'll go to, I don't know, Newcastle away and then drop 2 points and things. But it's just the inconsistency that kills them. And that's just my opinion. But yeah, I just don't think they've got the money and things like that to do it. And I think eventually they will become top four club again. But I think they need to be realistic of what they're actually achieving nowadays.
There's been a lot of talk about sort of like the Leicesters, the West Hams, the Wolves, Evertons pushing into the top 6 this season. Can you see that happening, or do you think the top 6 will stay as it is?
I mean, the sad thing, and I'm going to sound like the biggest, where I support Leighton Orient, and it's just like, oh, money's ruining football. But it is at the end of the day. Like, realistically, Leicester, the obvious exception a few years ago. But the sad thing about football now is that the top 5, top 6 is kind of settled now. As in, like, they will be big clubs forever because of financial fair play and how much money you can spend, and just through status-wise. Like, so I think it'll be quite hard to ever see, like West Ham, for example. It might break your heart, Frankie. I can't imagine them winning a league just purely based on the fact that it's not going to happen. It's so hard to break into. So if they do break into the top 6 this season, like especially with Wolves last year, I think it just shows how much of a good season Wolves had.
Yeah.
Because I mean, obviously they were allowed to sign like anyone basically, but that defeats the point. But again, that probably does support what I was saying, just like that money does talk. But Leicester have been a really exciting team this season. I think James Maddison is someone that I'd love to see him like properly break into the England team soon, because I rate him very highly as well. And West Ham, Felipe Anderson, from what I've seen and what people have told, because a lot of my friends are West Ham fans, they have like these sort of, when it's been a long time, probably since Dimitri Payet, that
I'm going to stop you there, Tom, because every West Ham fan, right, I've seen, because Felipe Anderson had a really good game at the weekend against Norwich. Everyone I've heard on social media is like, I'll tell you what, he reminded me of Payet today, that sort of flair. I was like, don't mention his name. Don't compare him to Payet. Let him be Anderson. It really gets to me.
No, but what I mean by that, before I was so rudely interrupted, Mr. Frankie,
Go on.
I think it's been a while, especially probably since Payet, that West Ham fans have kind of been left on the edge of their seat. And that's what Anderson brings. And like, I think he's just so good. And I mean, you could probably answer this better than I could, but did he kind of like hit the ground running when he came to West Ham, or was it taking a bit of time to adjust?
Oh, it took him a long time to adjust. It took him till the Man United game in sort of September, October to get his first goal. But then he hit a really good spell in the middle of the season, and then it sort of fizzled out towards the end again. So there are inconsistencies with Anderson, but it's his first season in English football. I was happy to accept that it's going to be a difficult season. There was a lot of changes at the club last season with a manager, of a lot of players coming in. But this season he
Mm,
looks a lot more settled. I'm
yeah.
gonna be honest. He looks a lot better than last
Ha-
season. And that match against Norwich was the best performance I've seen him put in a West Ham shirt. And our attacking, I'll tell you what, Sebastian Haller, Lanzini, Anderson, Yarmolenko, they are very good options to have. It's just defensively whether we can maintain and keep more clean sheets, because that's what's been our downfall over the past few years, conceding too many goals. But if we can shore up our defence, the attack speaks for itself, and I think we'll be up there, can challenge them for sort of top 7, top 8 this season.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair to West Ham, I think your best signing hasn't actually been someone is going to pull on a West Ham jersey. I think you've got a new director of football now, haven't you?
Yeah.
Who's just come in, and some of the signings he's done, especially for the amount of money he's brought him in for, like I think that could be spell a change of fortune for West Ham and push him in a different direction. If you agree with that.
Oh, 100%. When before him, it was before Mario Hosolos, new director of football, took charge. It was David Sullivan in charge of in charge of literally everything, transfers, just pretty much buying the players, choosing which players join the club. And the managers didn't really have much of a say in it, to be honest. It was a lot of Sullivan signings come through the door. Um, but now there's a change in philosophy. There's a change in the approach and how we approach transfers, and we're just being run like an actual football club now. As silly as
Mm.
that sounds for a team that's been in the Premier League for 7 years now, it seems like we're finally getting there as a club. But knowing that we'll probably lose our next 4 games, Pellegrini will get sacked, and then I'm back to square one.
No, but it's
But
definitely a step in the right direction.
yeah, 100%. But then there's a lot of teams that are sort of in that West Ham bracket, though, aren't there? You got Wolves, Leicester, Everton, go far as saying Watford. So there's a lot of competition. The Premier League, this is probably the most competitive I've seen the Premier League, like in the top 10 for a while. And as you said, it makes it so exciting to watch. So on a slightly less positive note, we had Romelu Lukaku subject to more racist chants at the weekend. It was with Inter Milan away at, what was it, Cagliari?
Yeah,
Or
Cagliari,
uh,
yes.
1-1, steps up to take a penalty, and just behind the goal, just lots of racist chants. How long are we going to see racism like this in football? Is there anything else that we can do to stop it? Do you think we're doing enough to prevent this from happening?
I mean, I think there's more you can do, but the genuinely sad thing is that physically and just through the large amount of football fans there are, you're not going to change the opinion of every single football fan, and that's the saddest thing. And it might have to be a generational thing that we do have to teach kids that racism, not even just football, is just like it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like to hate on somebody for that sort of reason. But I mean, the thing that I'm find probably the most shocking about the whole thing to Lukaku is that it's the Cagliari fans, and they've had in the last few years they've had different issues with Sally Montari. There's another player I can't, but he's not coming to my head, who they've had racial issues with, but it's kind of been discarded. I mean, one of the Montari issue was like, oh, you couldn't really hear it in the crowd, and it was funny enough. Sam, who couldn't be here today, put up on one of his Twitters saying about, oh, might misquote him to be honest, but it was something about the relevance of the racism or something along those lines, which is,
Mm,
if your own like league and footballing organisation can't stand up for you, I mean, I can understand why you'd be so annoyed.
yeah.
Because I was watching a podcast. Sorry, I was cheating on the final whistle, and it was Poet and Vuj, and they've made their own podcast now, and they've done something with Ian Wright,
Yeah.
and that isn't just like a plug. I don't represent them, but
Yeah.
yeah, Ian Wright spoke about, because obviously like racism was especially rife in English football in like the early 90s and late 80s when you think of like the Laurie Cunninghams and the Cyril Regises. But Ian Wright experienced a lot of racism himself. But he said that he used to go into rooms at the FA and explained why like racism is such a bad, like horrible thing to him and what they should do. And they just never really took him too seriously, which is looking back on it now, what 30 years ago, it's horrible.
Mm.
But I think to really stamp racism out of football, you do have to take really drastic actions. Like, for example, with Cagliari, should they have a stadium ban or something like that for the next 3 or 4 games? Yeah, as drastic as it sounds,
Yeah.
you need to get the point across, and they're not getting it. But yeah, that's what I think of it.
I mean, the week prior, I think in France, the match was abandoned. What was it for? It was for another reason. I think it was for homophobic chants.
Oh yeah,
And
100%
yeah,
agree with that.
and
Yeah,
that was
not
the
homophobic.
match was abandoned.
Not homophobia. I don't agree with that.
No,
I
yeah,
agree with them abandoning the game. Yeah.
yeah. So why was this different this time around? Why was it as soon as the racist chants were being sung or sounded out of the stadium? Why was the match just not abandoned in an instant like that? Why not just do that?
I mean, as well, you've got to put it down to, as much as I don't want to defend it, the referee, that's a very bold call to call a game off.
Well, if you're making that big
Yeah.
of an impression on, like, if this happens, just call the match off.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Call it
though.
off.
Because again, the Sonny Montari situation, the referee claimed that he couldn't hear it, and I'm not being funny. If you can't hear
Yeah.
20,000 fans screaming like
Yeah.
racist chants, that smells a little bit, to be honest.
Mm.
But it's a shame. But I think we have to take such drastic measures just to get what we want. As much as like, yes, I'm sure that not every single Cagliari fan's a racist. I'm 100% sure of that. But you can't just be like, right, this one's a racist, this one's not, and you have to be like, right, no one can play for the next 3 games, or maybe deducting points.
Yeah,
maybe that could be something that could introduce you, but it needs to be spoke about on a national scale by say the FA or the organisation at Serie A. But it needs to start from the top and then filter down.
The problem is, though, it's not just racism in the stadium. There's so much racism on social media now. We've seen it with Pogba in recent weeks after he missed a penalty. So many players now on social media are being subject to racism, but behind anonymous accounts and stuff like that through Twitter. That's probably the main culprit. So it's very difficult because the more attention you give these people, that's exactly what they want. So
the thing is, though, is that the sad thing about it, I can guarantee if I go on Twitter right now and I look up Pogba with a racist word, most of the accounts that would have tweeted those things would have a picture of I don't know, Virgil van Dijk, and then their name will be finally Virgil or something like that. And do you know what I mean? And that's the sad thing about it, because it would never be. And I'd studied this when I did A-level psychology. I can't remember for the life of me what it was called, but it was that idea of you having more confidence to say these things with a online persona that doesn't actually show who you actually are.
Yeah.
Which is really sad. But the problem is, like I said before, it's very hard to police that sort of thing, because at the end of the day, no one's going to be at the door saying right, you can't tweet this, and it's very hard to govern. But I think it's just going to have to be such a generational thing, that because I feel like now, if my kid was ever a racist, I'd be disgusted with them. But I think that's becoming a bit more of a growing attitude. So eventually, it will lower down. I think, especially in football. But to be honest, it's going to take a while, which is a shame, in all honesty.
Yeah. Do you think social media pages like Twitter should? I saw an interesting thing. I think Laura Wood said it. Said have people's ID when they sign up, so you have to provide a passport photo or something, so they know.
I've seen that actually, but that's actually quite.
So they know who you are. But the only thing is, it's not. Is that sort of realistic? Because the numbers would drastically decrease on the page. Would Twitter want to do that? When they'd get so much less traffic? I just don't think they would, which is a sad reality. I don't think they'd do that.
Yeah. That's the thing, though. They're the FA is for liaise with Twitter and Instagram and things like that, and that's just it. And to be fair, the sad thing is, if one of these accounts gets banned, I need to burp. If one of these accounts get banned, realistically, it's going to take 15 minutes to make another one. And that's the sad thing about it. And they probably don't even have that many followers or anything. They just tweet rubbish. But yeah, it's a dark day for football when things like that happen.
Right, slightly different debate for this one. Van Dijk just been crowned UEFA Player of the Year ahead of Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. Rio Ferdinand has come out with some interesting views on it. He sort of stated that you're looking at players like Messi scoring 50 goals in a season, or Ronaldo winning the amount of trophies he did. He's saying a defender shouldn't really get get that credit for that sort of award. And just because he said, I think he said scoring goal is the hardest thing to do in football. So yeah, Van Dijk's had an outstanding season, but when Messi's producing 50 goals and stats we've never ever seen before, can you give, just because Messi's won it so many times, can you then give it to Van Dijk for having a good defensive season? What's your take on it, Tom? Do you think there should be credit for defenders as much as forwards?
I mean, to be honest, you can simple this down as much as you want. When you play at Sunday League level, everyone wants to be a striker because that's where the glory comes from. But at the end of the day, I think with Van Dijk winning this time around, it does show how much of a good season he's had. Like, he's been such a solid defensive player, but it's quite hard to look past the sense of Messi scoring X amount of goals. Ronaldo, he's gone and won the Serie A with you. Like, is that his third title in 3 different countries? Like, but the thing is, as much as like every football fan has said this, but Messi and Ronaldo are just, they're their own beasts. Like, and I think it's an exciting time for us as fans, especially for people like me and you, Frankie, being only like 20, 21 years old. Messi and Ronaldo have dominated for so long. Like, Kaká was the last one to win it in 2008. It's nice to see that variety. But to be honest, I think there should be probably more of a separate award because Messi and Ronaldo are just in a completely different league to everybody else. And in my lifetime, I don't think I'll ever see players like that again. And the sad thing as well is that I don't think I fully appreciated Messi and Ronaldo at their peak. I just like, yeah, that's normal. Like, Messi he scored like 92 goals in a calendar year one year, didn't he?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. I don't, because we've grown up with that. I think we're only really going to appreciate how good they were when they've retired.
Yeah.
But they do need like their own sort of trophy, and I think they should be like, both of them should be sort of like given some sort of award, so like a you know how some people have like an OBE to like a services to football and things like that.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they should have like a similar sort and be recognised by footballing society. But
yeah,
I think it's a good time as well because, I mean, for example, like Virgil van Dijk, I think he's only been dribbled past once this season. Is it, or some? I can't. Is that how the stat works?
Something like that. Pepe,
yeah,
wasn't it?
Yeah, and to be honest, like, it was very questionable whether he drew past him because Pepe, he got him out his feet and then lost the ball again. So, but I think, yeah, Van Dijk's had a really good season. I think now, just for moving on in football, like, it would be nice to see different winners.
Yeah, I think it's just so difficult to measure because with attackers you can measure it on goals, assists, chances created. Defenders is completely different. It's such a different type of the game. So to give one award based on such different aspects, it's difficult because you have Messi and Ronaldo producing goals on goals on goals, and then you've got Van Dijk who's keeping clean sheets and doing a completely different aspect of the game. So to label it down to one thing, like, it's so hard. So I don't necessarily agree with what Ferdinand said about defenders just because Messi, like, just because he's a defender, it shouldn't really get recognised because of the brilliance of Messi and Ronaldo.
Yeah.
But I do agree that Messi probably should have won it because, yes, he's producing such outstanding figures and stuff like that. But that's where I'm sort of hesitant because there's not really anything to measure it on. I don't know what they're measuring it on. Like, how do they measure it? Because you've got such different aspects of the game. It's confusing.
I mean, to be fair, and as much as I'm not going to say like the UEFA's corrupt or anything like that, but Virgil van Dijk won the UEFA Champions League. The UEFA Best Award is UEFA award, and to be fair, it's an interesting thing as well because Messi has been renowned as one of the best players in the world and has won so many Player of the Years. Do you think because he's won that many Player of the Years, people might think twice about it because they don't want to like him running away with it, sort of thing?
Potentially, yeah. That's another factor. Like, if he keeps winning it, I think, that's just boring.
Yeah.
Give it to Van Dijk. It changes that up a bit. So maybe, yeah. But yeah, I just thought Ferdinand's comments were quite interesting about it because he's basically, we all know he loves Messi. I think everyone knows that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Again, it's so hard to judge it because they're such different players.
Yeah, 100%.
Right, so to conclude this week, we're going to talk to Tom about his beloved club, Leyton Orient. When we're close, we're in a similar situation to sort of Bury and Bolton a few years back.
Yes.
Do you want to just talk through the experience you had as a fan, nearly going out from the club, nearly being extinguished, basically, and then sort of rebuilding through the leagues, and now you're back into the football league.
Yeah, I think it's best to, because not everyone knows about the situation with Leyton Orient, because shock, not many people will watch about games in League One and League Two.
Yeah.
But we was taken over by Francesco Bischetti, who is an Italian owner, and this is a PG podcast, so I'll try and refrain from swearing. But no, he, in fairness to him, he put loads of money into the club. He bought the club from Barry Hearn just after we lost the playoff final League One in 2014. And it's sad because that playoff final, that was the start of the demise of Leyton Orient, it was so sad because he wanted to put money into the clubs because he genuinely wanted the club to play Premier League football. And that was like, I think he basically wanted to do what Salford have done, like just get a club, lower leagues, and try and take them as far as they can.
Right.
But he just didn't understand the fact that like you can't just throw money at something, expect it to work. And we had, trying to think, we got, oh yeah, after our playoff final, we were relegated the year after because, to be fair, that was just these bad performances and we were shocking that season. Went down to League Two, finished seventh that year, and then the year after that we got relegated again. But that was due down to the fact that players weren't being paid, players didn't turn up because they weren't being paid, and that's fair enough. So we got to a point where he just didn't pay staff and things like that. So I think there was like groundsmen and tea ladies and stuff who hadn't been paid from like 5 or 6 months, and he was choosing to sell up. And it's sad watching a man do that sort of thing because the difference between league football and the Premier League is that I do not, honestly, I do not, if we lose 2 or 3-0, obviously I am going to care, but I go to Orient because it's a family and like it's something that's been in my family for generations as well. And I love Leyton Orient's pieces. I would never support another club, but it's very similar to like the Bury situation and what's going on at Bolton because I felt bad for these clubs because they're having their club there where they go on a Saturday just ripped away from them just because. And this whole, especially with Steve Dale, I mean, some of his comments and TalkSport was just ridiculous. Like, did you see many of them or not?
Yeah, it was disgusting, mate. He was ridiculous, isn't it, in what he was saying?
Yeah, I just don't think people realise that, like, as I said, like money is killing football, like 100%. And I never really realised how important it is to have an owner who genuinely cares about the club. And now we're quite lucky. We have a consortium who look after Leyton Orient. It's a guy called Nigel Travis, who's a Leyton Orient fan, and Kent Teague, who's a guy from Texas, and he owns Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
And it's quite funny. We have Leyton Orient donuts over there. You have a little badge on it. It's brilliant. I love it. But yeah, they love the club. They put in like the money, but at the right time, they invested themselves into it, and it was a fairy tale sort of thing of us getting back into the league, and especially with Justin Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And I remember I was sitting in my my university flat, and I was just on my phone, and I got a text. Actually, I got a text from you saying that I can't believe that Justin Edinburgh, and I was like,
yeah,
what? Like, what do you mean? What are you on about? Because I knew that he was in hospital because the club sunk out of it, but they never made that much of a big deal about it. Out of probably respect for his family.
Yeah.
It came as such a shock because, and I'm not being funny, as horrible as it sounds, I don't think Netflix could even write what's happened to Leyton Orient recently.
No.
Like going down the leagues, going back up, and then the manager that took you back up, like dies. And it's just it's such a sad time for him. But we're definitely going in the right direction now, which is the good thing.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? Bury's Steve Dale, he said after it, he said, I never went to Bury, so for me to walk away from it and never go back is a very easy thing to do. I didn't even know there was a team called Bury. I'm not even a football fan. So
Yeah.
to hear like owners of football clubs actually saying that, and it sort of asks the question, well, how many owners are there like this in football?
Oh, there's a few. Like there's some that people don't even realise. Like obviously the Oystons are out of Blackpool now, which is amazing for them because I think they're kind of the poster boys of shocking ownership in football. To be honest, like it's even happened at Charlton, they're like their owners. I can't. It's a Belgian guy, but just because they've just gone up a league, like doesn't mean they've got their own problems. Like I think they've like he's has asked the FA to buy Charlton Football Club. Southend United are having problems at the moment as well. Like there are so I think Scunthorpe and Macclesfield are all having problems, but
Yeah.
they're not seeing the money that the Premier League is. And I'm not saying that just because they're in the higher league they should give up give all like money to the lower leagues to like help it progress. But and I've said this to people before, and the one thing, I mean, for example, I'll give this as an example. My ex-girlfriend, she's a Man City fan,
Hmm.
and but fair play to her. There's pictures of her when she was a kid, like in Man City kit. But she makes like she lives in Essex, but she makes the physical effort to go to Man City games.
Yeah.
So I can respect that. And if you make the effort to go to those sort of games, like, I can get behind that. But I can guarantee you, if I turn around to a Man United fan that lives in London or whatever, a Cockney Red, and I said to them, right, go towards your local team and support them for a year, and go to every game and do that for a season, I can guarantee at the end of that season, they will kind of start to fall in love of going to games, because going to games is so much different than watching on Sky Sports.
Mm.
Because at the end of the day, if you're watching Liverpool on Sky Sports, realistically, you're not going to get like Anfield's only got 50,000 seats. You're not going to get every Liverpool fan in there.
Yeah.
But the only people that benefit from you watching it on Sky Sports are Sky Sports and BT Sport. Like Liverpool Football Club are not benefiting from that.
Mm.
Like I just think like as well, and I probably sound like such an old-fashioned guy saying this, but back in the day, football clubs were representing your area, and I think that's kind of lost it in football now, which is such a shame.
Well, what do you think makes this is quite a broad question. What do you think makes a proper football fan? Because Betway produced a really good documentary about a West Ham fan that's in China, and he's only ever come to England once or twice in his life, but they'll still watch it. There's still a group of them that sing the chants and stuff. And then when we went on our tour to China in pre-season, there was a group of them. And they were there, they were loving it, they were in the stadium watching, singing all the songs. So what is it that makes a true football fan? Is it people that attend matches week in, week out, or is there other things to it? Just because you're attending a match, does that make you much more of a fan than anyone else?
That's a very good point. And especially like international, because the Premier League is the biggest league in the world. So you are going to attract like foreign fans that come and support the league, which is great. Like it's great for business, like it's great for probably English economy as well. Like it's brilliant.
Yeah.
But what I mean by it, as in, like I said, like if you are a fan and you make the effort to go to games, you can have my respect. That's absolutely fine. Realistically, sometimes you're not going to be able to get to games. That's also fine.
Yeah.
But especially for me, I mean, when the minute I say like, oh, who do you support? And I'll be like, oh, I support Leyton Orient. I'll happily like be the butt of a joke and things saying like, oh, why do you support Leyton Orient? But if I receive it from fans who go to games and things like that, I'll be like, oh, okay. But if you're a Manchester United fan who's never been to a game and you live in England and like just watch you on Sky Sports, or probably not even that, maybe just match of the day, I can't sit there and be like care about your opinion, because I actually like make the effort to go to games.
But some people could argue that they can't afford to go to these matches and go far to Manchester. Say people in London, they can't afford to go to these places.
I mean, that's a different problem in itself, because ticket prices in football now is just ridiculous. But
Yeah.
that's what I mean, though. Like, I think those people who do say that, they've never tried going to a lower league game and things like that, because I can guarantee if you go to lower league football, you will absolutely love it. Like, it's brilliant. Like, the atmosphere as well is so much better. As in, like, I've been to, and I have to admit, since we've done this like Brighton apprenticeship, I was actually quite shocked about the atmosphere at Brighton, to be honest. Like, I didn't think it was going to be that loud. But I've been to some Premier League games, and it's just, they come, they sit down, they moan, they cheer, they go home. That's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing more to it. And like, I love the fact that when I go to Orient, it's people singing, like there's drums and things like that. And like, don't even get me wrong. I mean, especially this weekend just gone, I don't know whether you saw it. There was a altercation between Salford and Orient fans out of after the ground. And it wasn't like a sort of Green Street sort of level, but there was a bit of a scrap. But usually there's like fans like giving it to each other. And they do that in the Premier League. But it's just a different sort of vibe in the lower leagues. And I can get like one of my friends, Sam, he's a QPR fan, and he says it as well. Like, it's good to be like supporting those sort of teams because it's representing your area. It's something to be proud of,
Mm,
and I genuinely care. I think my first love was Leyton Orient. Like, I love
yeah.
them to pieces. And that's just how it is.
Fair enough, mate. No, I agree with your point about if you're not making an effort to go to matches, then what are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
What are you
that's
actually doing? Like, there'll be fans that claim to be, but the biggest thing that annoys me was if there's say like a Chelsea fan, Chelsea are doing really well, and they'll go, oh, actually, fancy supporting Man City now, you know?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's what gets to me. But
Do you know what I have to
yeah,
say? Did you have like I don't know, growing up, like there was a lot of Chelsea fans that we know who probably supported Chelsea, and then it was kind of like a cult thing to support Chelsea, and especially when we like 20 years ago, a lot of people supported Man United, and then before that, a lot of people supported Liverpool because
mm,
they were doing well. I'm interested to see whether in the next 10 years of just kids growing up from the younger generation, where there will be a lot more Manchester City fans.
I think 100% they will, hundred
Just through
percent.
following it. Because to be fair, like Pep Guardiola is obviously doing an amazing job at City, but how much longer do you think Pep Guardiola will be at City for? Because I can't see him as a Sir Alex Ferguson being there for 26 years sort of thing.
But with the money they have and everything, I don't think they're gonna fall off anytime soon. To be
Oh no.
honest, they'll be up there for the next 10 years minimum.
But that's what I meant about the point earlier. Like nowadays, unless you're literally ready to throw unbelievable amounts of money at football clubs, and to be fair, like I feel like when you're an owner of a football club, there's not much benefit out of it. It's like having a very, very expensive child. Like
Yeah.
you have like 40-year-old blokes screaming at you, being like, "Why don't you sign? Why don't you put £50 million into the club and things like?" It's your money at the end of the day. Like you're choosing to own. And at the day, it's your choice to own a football club. But I can see why sometimes people don't put the money in because in the day it is their money. Like
Yeah.
when you actually put it like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like the clubs are going to just stay how they are now. That's just how it's going to be.
So if for example Orient went under, no more Leighton Orient, what would you do as a fan? Would you try and get behind another team and try and become a fan of another team, or what would it be like for you?
Well, again, this is the situation where there's like with Phoenix clubs, like AFC Wimbledon are definitely the best example of a Phoenix club. Like they've gone up the divisions, done really well, and I genuinely hope Bury have that sort of thing where they can form a team to then support because, like, with Orient, like, don't get me wrong, there are times I'm watching Orient, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like. I've got a dodgy knee, and I think I could run a better job sometimes. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god, like it's sometimes it's dreadful. But Joe, what me and my friend Sam are talking about this QPR fan. The one good thing, like the really good thing about supporting a club like Orient and or QPR or like I don't know, like another club sort of like that, is that when you support Man United or Liverpool or City, the expectation is to win the Premier League. That's it. Like that is what you want. You want to win
Mm,
trophies. You want to win. But we won the National League this year, and honestly, we don't. I can't remember the last trophy. My dad's never seen Orient win a trophy either.
mm,
So, but I just felt like where we won a trophy, it would have felt 10 times better than if I was a Man United fan and we won the FA Cup.
yeah.
And that's what I love about it. Like I cried. I happy admit, I cried when Orient got back into the Football League because it just meant so much after everything that happened.
Mm,
But
yeah.
that's the emotion of it, and I love it. Like I couldn't trade it. Like if we did go under, I definitely like. I obviously wouldn't be the guy being like, right, I'm starting a Phoenix club. We train on Monday nights. Come over. But I would definitely support like the Phoenix club and I hope Bury do that as well. Like I really
Yeah.
hope to because football is such an outlet for people, and I don't think people realise it. It's a place to go every Saturday, and it's like it's something that like so many people can get on so well with. Like it's just like that common ground with people, and it's
Yeah.
great. Like, it's great.
Listen, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure talking about that. Thank you very much for providing such a valuable insight into your club. But yeah, I
Always.
honestly appreciate you coming on, mate. It was good. We'll definitely get this going again in the
Yeah.
future
Glad.
if we
Hope it
can
was a
tie
good
you down.
debut. Yeah. I might have
Yeah,
to speak to my agent. I heard True Geordie wants someone to come across like come on next time, so I might have to speak to my agent. But
yeah.
yeah, thanks for having me on. Been great.
Well, thank you as always for listening. make sure to check us out on Twitter @_TFW podcast. We're going to be posting every week soon. We've got a little announcement about going into a video platform. At the moment, we're posting them to YouTube as audio clips, but once we go back to uni in a few weeks, we're gonna sort it out, and we're gonna up the professionalism a little bit.
I mean, you look, all these guys are gonna see our ugly faces. How great!
Yeah. Sorry, lads.
Probably a little surprise if we did that. Business choice. We have to go back to audio because we can hack it. We want the faces for radio.
But anyways, thank you very much for listening. Leave a like on the video. Comment down below your thoughts on anything we spoke about before. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss out every week. And thank you very much. Goodbye.